uncalled for. She's not in control of Jimmy. She can't make him do what they want her, what she wants him to do. And ideally, ideally we want to be supportive of these people, not drive hate. That's all it is. Um, it's ridiculous, but it's I don't understand it. I really don't. Um, with that said, going into Slammiversary, which is this coming Sunday, TNA is going to have a mystery opponent for Deonna Purrazzo, which got to give Deonna a lot of credit for what she was able to do with the Impact Knockouts Championship during the whole time during the pandemic. She has been able to actually show that she can kind of carry the women's division. I like how they've been teasing it. With Chelsea Green showing up on Ring of Honor, which is one of the things that happened recently, because apparently John Laurinaitis was able to work with her about the non-compete clause. It doesn't necessarily put a damper in the possibility that it will be Chelsea Green, especially considering she's still going by the mess character, hot mess character. But there's speculation whether or not it might be Mickey James or it might end up being Ruby Riott or Ruby. I believe she's trying to go by Ruby Soho now in the Independents, not Heidi Lovelace. I'm really hoping that Impact makes a big surprise. I don't care who it is, whether it's one of those names or even one of the names from AEW or even NWA, like Serena Deeb or I can't remember her name right now. The girl that paints half of her face, that's from NWA. But any one of those, I could be completely on board with any one of those people showing up. So we'll see what they end up doing, but honestly, I'm completely okay with it. It'd be cool to kind of see what they do there. Speaking of women's wrestling, Carmella, for one reason or another, is also getting hate on her wrestling ability. My opinion, I'm not a fan of Carmella, but I think I'm not supposed to be a fan of Carmella. Because when it comes down to is, I think she does her a proper work as a heel character. And just because I'm not a fan of it, I'm not gonna say she's a terrible wrestler. I don't think that's my judgment call. On if I was to guess, like, I just realistically think it's just because it's personality quirks that go against my personality, and it just doesn't work for me. I do think she can have pretty good in-ring matches, depending on the partner that she has, which is any case with a wrestler. There's been people that are great wrestlers in ring and have terrible matches, just because it doesn't work with their opponent. And I'll use Triple H as an example. Triple H, for the most part, can usually get a good match out of almost anybody, but he's had bad matches, Undertaker included. Now Triple H, but in general, Undertaker's had great matches with people and terrible matches with others. So I think Carmella kind of falls on that. I'm not saying she's a great caliber, but I don't think she's as bad as everyone makes her out to be. I think for her character, she does it pretty well. And I think any kind of negative judgment towards her is unfair. And of course, she's firing back on social media, which is what you would expect. But I don't appreciate people saying, she's bringing the women's division back to the Divas division like negative 15 years from before the women's revolution. Why? Because she's a looker. I mean that's unwarranted. There's plenty of people that are mainly there because they're lookers, and I'm not trying to cast any negativity, but WWE does try to hire more of a pretty face for women's division. A good example of good wrestler that looks good is Sasha Banks and Bayley, and some people like the way Charlotte looks. Not my personal opinion. I'm not a fan of her appearance wise. I'm not trying to say anything bad about her appearance. It's just, if I was to say, give me a couple ones that you prefer the way they look, I will give you those answers. But when it comes to Charlotte, it's just not my taste. I think I don't really have a strong infatuation with blondes. I guess that would probably be part of the reason. But be that as it may, Carmella's not setting it back. She's just another character. It's kind of like having someone like The Miz as part of the men's division. Miz is going to be that that very like ritzy style character that tries to use his looks as a reason because he does movies and things like that, or even Nitro, or Morrison. He doesn't go by Nitro anymore. But people like that, which actually on The Miz, people said that he is too safe in the ring. Part of they're supposed to be safe in the ring. His character works just fine for how he portrays it, and you have to give him a lot of credit for his ability in the ring because he's definitely worked hard to increase it. I don't think everyone needs to jump off ladders and things like that, and there's been plenty of wrestlers that haven't jumped off ladders and things like that just because it didn't work for them. So, The Miz is another person I think is receiving invalid hate. The other thing I saw going on is I guess AEW is still trying to release their Elite General Manager, which is like a mobile game. Apparently it's supposed to come out July 15th, this coming Friday. Or July 15th, I'm sorry, is a Thursday, not Friday. So that would be coming out. I'm going to try it out on mobile personally. I'm not a big mobile gamer, but I would check it out. I mean, when it comes to mobile games, I mainly play Pokemon Go, but I'm willing to check it out because I think the general manager thing would be kind of fun to play with. Going back to signings, looks like AEW released Danny Limelight. He has now been signed to MLW. Congrats to him. MLW's been around for a while. Even Incredible worked for them in the early 2000s. So it would be interesting to see what he was able to do in MLW. One of the things that caught really weird attention is the fact that Kenny Omega had like a Fu Manchu beard, kind of like what you see from Lemmy, and Motorhead. I think Harley Race had it. Triple H had it. James Hetfield, Metallica had it. If people were drawing comparison between Kenny Omega and Triple H, Kenny Omega already came out and said, "No, that wasn't Triple H. That was Harley Race." I don't understand why people thought he would be trying to try to compare himself to Triple H. They're not comparable in my opinion. Kenny Omega is someone that AEW needed at his launch. I just don't think, especially given how much they've been saying how much he's been hurting, I don't think he would be on Triple H. Because Triple H is like in his 50s and still working. I don't think Kenny Omega is going to be there. I think Kenny Omega is probably the people that draw attention to it, but I think in terms of long term, I don't think he's there. I actually don't even think the Bucks are there for long term. I think their long term eggs are going to be falling into different baskets for AEW. And it sucks for Kenny Omega to have his career cut short because of the style he does and injuries he sustained doing it. But at the same time, it's just what happens when you work that high flying style. Usually injuries will rack up. Your career will get cut short because of it. I'm actually surprised that AJ's been working as long as he has with it. Even Rey Mysterio, just because that usually that doesn't continue as long as it has, but they're able to keep it working. But it's unfortunate to see that happen to him. Going back with AEW, I know Jim Ross at WWE Dynamite. Jim Ross has worked with the WWF since the early 90s or mid 90s. Him making that mistake, it happens. I'm not gonna bash him for it. I think at that point you gotta understand the guy's getting old. He's been saying the same thing for a number of years, and AEW is still somewhat of a new company. He might have been even in an autopilot while trying to run that promo. So I'll share a story with you. When I was 18, I worked at this pizza place, Hungry Howie's. They're franchised, and I won't speak much on the franchise owner because him and I got a disagreement when I left. But I worked there for like 3 months, and I always used to do this thing. Thank you for calling Hungry Howie's. Will this be pickup or delivery? it was just one of the things I like to do for customer service is say thank you for calling, whatever. Shortly after that, I started working for an insurance company, and we were waiting for calls to come in. It was in the early morning. I actually did this twice that I can think of. And it was in the early morning, and I was just talking with one of them. I went to take a claim because at that point, Hurricane Katrina had just ran through Mississippi and Louisiana and parts of Texas. So I went to take a claim, and instead of saying the company name, I said, "Thank you for calling Hungry House. Would this be pickup or delivery?" The person paused, and he said, I didn't think I called the pizza place. And I said, "My apologies. I just started working here." And you reached blank. Could I get your policy number if you have it? And went about my day. A few years later, that company laid me off. A few years later, I'm now working at a cable company. We're talking about what we did prior. Again, early in the morning, like 7 or 8 in the morning, because I think at that point I covered someone else's shift, so I think I was working 7. So I was talking with a bunch of guys that were there, talking about what we did prior. He asked me where I worked before, and I told him what we did, things like that. The call comes in. I say the insurance company that I worked for and the policy number, basically, because at the insurance company you would say, "Thank you for calling blank. Could I have your policy number if you have it?" I said that very statement. The person paused and he goes, I thought I was calling blank cable company. I said, my apologies. I started with the company. I'm still trying to get in the habit of the company name. What can I do for you this morning? Long story short, because of all that, it would be hard for me to pass judgment on Jim Ross, especially given how long he worked for WWE and knowing that he's getting up there in age. Because at that point, I made those mistakes when I was 18 and 24. I think I was 24, 23 or 24. It's bound to happen. You're bound to make those kind of mistakes. So I don't understand those kind of judgments, but it is what it is. You're gonna have people that are just gonna be angry towards him and do things like that. But please be please be kind to JR. He's a legend, and he's trying to do what he can, and I realistically don't think he's gonna be doing commentary much longer. I mean, he might have a couple years left in him, but maybe that's it. It's one of those things where we're gonna want to take advantage while he's still doing it. He is a legend, and it's good to hear him and Tony Schiavone together, and I think Excalibur is really fit into that mold. But I do think JR is on about his way to be done with doing it. And with AEW, it looks like the ratings have jumped back up. I didn't think when they had low ratings, it was going to stay that way. They've been bouncing around a lot between Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, all over the place for Dynamite. And I think for a lot of people that are habit TV watchers, that's going to really damage their retention. They're not going to be able to kind of follow the company and see where they're going because, they're not used. People are of habit. They're normally going to turn on TV and watch it for days that they're used to. And I think with Friday and Saturdays, they're kind of dangerous to their key demographic. Any case, but it would be interesting if they're able to keep up the ratings going back towards the millions. And I hope they do. I hope TNT remains happy with them. I think that they're a good TV product, and I think they have been exceeding what people have been wanting for them. So it'd be interesting to see if that happens. With WWE, in terms of ratings, I guess apparently Stephanie McMahon had to explain the failing ratings, and it goes back to what I think of WWE. I think there's too much inconsistency with WWE. I think the 50-50 booking's hurting them. I think 50-50 booking, and I think poor utilization of stars. Then you got people like me that get burnt out of seeing the same old garbage from the company and how they treat their people. It's one of those where someone like me